Views and opinions expressed may not reflect those of the Allen County Public Library, Access Fort Wayne, and or any other supporting groups. If you are interested in producing your own programs for Access Fort Wayne, you can contact us at 260-421-1250.
Welcome to Countyline.
Hi everyone, I'm Mike Green, Public Information Officer in the Allen County Commissioner's Office, and welcome to Countyline, the program featuring news and information about Allen County government. Well, by now you're aware that voters on November 4th rejected a plan to restructure Allen County government by replacing the Board of Commissioners with a single county executive. Now, 2 days after the election, the commissioners held a news conference to announce the appointment of a committee designed to examine the future of county government within its present structure.
Well, thanks so much for coming today to hear what we've got to say. It's been a long 6 months for proponents of the single county executive initiative, as well as for those who were opposed. And on Tuesday, the vote may not have turned out as some would have liked, and others are completely satisfied with the outcome. But the citizens of Allen County have spoken, and today is the day to bury the hatchet and unite around alternatives to improve how we as the commissioners serve the interests of the citizens of Allen County. During this time, the dialogue has frankly been very constructive, and I believe this is how strong communities are built. This is how great counties thrive and prosper. The discussions have given us a better perspective on how we can more effectively serve the citizens of Allen County. Since the General Assembly passed the legislation allowing for the referendum, we've heard ideas and suggestions from both sides of the issue. One common and recurring theme is that there is always room for improvement. And while county government is truly not broken, it can be made to operate more effectively. We stand here before you as county commissioners who frankly had staked different positions on the government reorganization issue. But today we're here as individuals who are united and are committed to taking what we've heard back to the table and constructively seeking ways in which county government, in particular the executive and legislative branches, might be made to be more effective. We believe that there are things that get straight to the heart of the more efficient government operations. Some of those will require an administrative fix. Those are things that we can do operationally, internally on a day-to-day basis. And some of the things will require legislative fixes. These are things that we'll have to reach out to our friends in the General Assembly to get some help with. Either way, we want to make sure that this is truly a community dialogue and that we can expand upon it. We've presently reached out to a number of county stakeholders who also had differing views on the referendum, but who hold the greater efficiencies in local government as near and dear to their hearts as we do. And we've asked them also to set aside their differences, as we have standing in front of you today, to work on a unified front in drilling down to those issues that will truly impact county government in a positive way. We hope to begin this work in the foreseeable future and conclude within the next year with some recommendations which will truly create a more positive impact on economic development in this community, as well as the executive and legislative functions within county government. Now, recognizing that the construct of that group could change, we've been very deliberative in our thoughts about who would be best to come to the table in helping us through the initial stages of this process. I'll ask Commissioner Brown to speak about some of those individuals, their talents, and why they were chosen.
Thank you, Commissioner Peters. To that point, we have chosen individuals that have made it their choice and their effort and their desire to be part of a proactive engagement relative to the referendum. Whether they were for or against, they stepped to the plate and they made their concerns known. And so we felt that these individuals definitely speak towards wanting to be engaged, and they have all agreed at this stage to be part of the group that we are now announcing. And these individuals are Ellen Cutter, who is the director of the IPFW Community Research Institute. She will serve as a facilitator for this group, so she will not be either side, but she will be creating an opportunity for dialogue through creating the agendas and the focus of each of the meetings that we hope to be having here shortly. Mark Becker, the CEO of Greater Fort Wayne, Inc. Terry McDonald, Mayor of New Haven. Roger Hadley, President of the Allen County Farm Bureau. Mike Eikenberry, who is the Dean of the IPFW Dormer School of Business. Bob Taylor, who's President and CEO of Do It Best Corporation. Kent Castleman, who is the Board President of the New Allen Alliance. And as an ex officio individual, Bill Fishring, our Allen County Attorney. The question being, why did we choose these individuals? They all bring a level of expertise, whether it's in the business community or the individuals that they represent, be it the Farm Bureau, East Allen, business, academia, whatever area that they have the expertise in. We hope that we can have a true dialogue about what benefits they can see in enhancing the improvement and greater efficiencies of the Commissioner's office. You know, we have a vested interest and necessary interest in taking this office to the next level. By engaging these individuals specifically, we truly have the opportunity to enhance the duties and functions of this office, to truly be the executive branch. We hope through this open dialogue that we can identify specific internal areas that need improvement. Solutions will be discussed and vetted. We will need to determine whether changes, if warranted, can be addressed through home rule or if legislative action is necessary. And a couple of these ideas that we have vetted and thought that maybe this group could look into would be, one, a need for greater financial oversight and influence over the county government at the executive level. Potentially board and commission terms where conditions of length and release of duty, if you will, just cause, looking into those types of things and seeing if that is something that might be of benefit to enhancing this office. Building and construction issues, more local input versus state input on what we do here locally. And then also, what elements of Indiana's one-size-fits-all approach to county government keeps us from exercising our executive authority? So these are some of the things that, at least from a base point, in the near future when this group coalesces shortly so that we can start these dialogues, we'll have some ideas as to what might be something they would like to study, or even, obviously, ideas that they may have. So at this point, I would like to introduce Commissioner Bloom for any additional comments, and then we'll open for questions. Commissioner Bloom?
Thank you. I was the one that stayed most quiet during all of this. And reason being is I promised that I would not come forward until this was over. And actually, I had the win for not having a single executive, even higher than it was 70-30. I am dedicated to the citizens of Allen County. I am not going to just settle for everything, but doggone it, there is room for improvement, a lot of it. Doesn't mean that we have to change legislation and everything. We can still do a lot of improvements that other counties maybe don't have. primarily for their size. We've been extremely popular recently, I think, with new development coming in. I think the pot has gotten bigger. I think the communication between the city and the county has improved when it comes to new projects. And I'm proud that it went down big, but I'm still thinking there is room for improvement, and this group hopefully can help make it happen.
You guys are part of the committee. The Board of Commissioners not serve, Commissioners will not serve on this committee.
No.
And we are open to obviously changing. It's a very flexible group. We foresee that at some point, there may be need to go farther out with other individuals, depending on where they land and where we are, depending on the subject matter. So again, we want to be flexible. We want to make sure that not only at the beginning stages that we have serious and intense dialogue, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but we also want to do this in a very transparent way. And that at some point, other individuals bringing their concerns forward is going to be embraced. No question about it. We all agree on that. So.
Now, while we won't necessarily be active participants on the committee, there will be room for our input into some of the things that are going on.
Based on what do you think? What would you attribute the outcome in this election to? And then what might that give you some? What ideas might that present to you guys about how the committee might be able to then come up with some different ways to do it?
Well, I think what we're trying to do today, in large part, is to put that election behind. Whether you were for, whether you were against, it's time to come together now. It's time to work on a unified basis to try and develop some ideas that have come about through some of the dialogue that's occurred in the last 6 months. Part of the issue is do we have the ability to appoint the people to boards and commissions, as an example, for the appropriate terms, for the appropriate reasons, or do we need more flexibility as far as that goes? Do we need to have greater influence over the total financial decisions that are made in Allen County with respect to legislation, economic development, and some of the other things? I think it's been missed on a lot of people, the authority that the Allen County Commissioners actually have on a number of fronts. And to truly make this an effective executive and legislative authority, we have to assume some authority in areas perhaps right now that we currently don't. So these are some of the discussions that we've heard. These are some of the things that we would lay on the table in hopes that this group can work through them and come back to us with some ideas that will truly make us more effective.
I mean, to one of the points that Commissioner Peters is bringing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just
To one of the points that Commissioner Peters is bringing up, I think that, and I think we all agree, that there needs to be a County Government 101, where whichever side you landed on, and again, moving forward, a true understanding of what the statutory authority is over the executive branch of the county commissioners, and how that interrelates to one of the primary points on the pro side of going to the single county executive, and that was economic development. So I think this group will need to understand what those statutory duties or timings are. Again, you have a redevelopment commission, you have county council. How do all of those parts really interconnect to where potentially we may be being perceived as the executive, but we don't have the power to necessarily execute because it's not in our bailiwick. So just want to make sure that we want to put the best foot forward so that there is enough information, even probably more than they probably want, just to understand from a base point where to go from that point so they have a true understanding.
How do you think this announcement will or should be perceived by the 70% of voters who just said, no, we don't want change.
Well, I think everybody, even the 70% of the voters who said, I don't know that they said we don't want change. They don't want that change.
Right.
But what I think we've taken out of the discussions from both sides of the issue is that, yes, there are indeed areas in which county government can improve. And some of the people who are coming to the table were some of the big opponents to the referendum. But they've got ideas in their own right as to how we can help improve some of the things in the commissioner's office. That's why they've been invited to the table. So how it will be perceived, I'm personally hoping that it's perceived as a forum in which people both for and against that initiative can come and leave ideas that can be cultivated in ways that we can better improve our service to Allen County citizens.
Is there one thing that you think the legislature could do for you that might really help and that the citizens in general might really support?
Well, Commissioner Brown mentioned again the authority over some of the fiscal issues. Suppose, as an example, the recommendations to the county council had to come from the county commissioners with respect to budgetary issues. It now gives the county commissioners influence in areas that would positively affect economic development, that would positively affect other areas of county government that they currently don't have.
But I think responsibilities of other elected officials then would have to be changed, because elected officials are not under the commissioners. We are elected officials also. We have departments under us, but the elected officials aren't. They have their own responsibilities, their own job. So to take more on in that respect, I don't know that that can happen. That would have to change statewide.
Now, this is an advisory committee, right?
Yes.
Right.
So it has no authority of its own. So the recommendation comes back, whatever it is, then what? You have to vet it before it goes off to the legislature, and
Well,
something you can do internally, as you mentioned.
We'd have to agree on some of these things. We can't just, because things are brought up.
And we do, and you know the risk you run in any time you do something like this is there will be recommendations. And, I think we'll be foolish not to accept some of those recommendations. But we've got, we've got to be careful, because at the end of the day, ultimately, we are the ones who have been elected to serve the citizens of Allen County.
We're also hoping that through this process that this group will stand with us. Hopefully going through all the subject matter, whatever those recommendations are, they can coalesce around, that we will have influence and in some aspects, some way of being able to determine, its validity, its ability to be enhanced and or integrated into our processes. And then if there are legislative changes that are needed, that they will walk hand in hand with us, trying to truly embrace the process so that, yes, we are separate, duly elected. We hold that, and we hold that in high regard. But this is a community, and we need to make sure that we're doing in the best interest of all those that we represent. So hence the rounded group that we have pulled together to make sure that we're taking their thoughts and we're taking their ideas and seeing how we can integrate the two.
So they don't even have a set first meeting yet at all?
No, we don't have a date yet. We're still working.
No, we've engaged Ellen Cutter, again, from Community Research Institute, and she's going to drive that portion.
Do you have a timeline for the overall?
Within the next year.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, it would be nice if there are legislative fixes that are necessary to be able to lobby the 2016 General Assembly to make some of those changes.
And that would mean being engaged on those particular subjects probably next summer. And one would,
I'm sorry,
pardon?
public meetings covered by the open door law, right?
Well, we're not going to be part of those meetings, but
There's still an advisory committee that I'm under the law.
I don't know, we'll have to
We have to
look
vet
and see
that.
how that works.
We didn't answer that.
well, I mean, we're looking to make sure
thinking
that
about it.
individuals speak freely. And we want to get whatever those issues are that were the crux of pushing forward the referendum, to also addressing whatever those particulars are, whether they're valid, whether they're fixable, whether it's just a timing issue, a misunderstanding, whatever they are, we need to have open dialogue. But as Commissioners Bloom and Peters are recommending or making reference to, we have to work through that.
We'll do what we are required legally to do.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
well, it's true. That's true.
Put the committee together.
Pardon?
When?
We've asked.
In the last month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And was that depending on how the vote?
No, it's something we felt was necessary regardless of the outcome of the vote. There are going to be people happy and unhappy on either side of the
Absolutely.
issue, regardless of which way the vote went. And as we suggested, what we've heard throughout this time is the debate. And so we thought, wait a minute, the best way to try and deal with some of the issues we've heard is by having some folks like this help us vet those issues and other issues they may come up with on their own.
There was work either way that would have to be addressed.
And a lot of people around the state are waiting to see how we're accepting this and how we're going to include the suggestions of what the vote was and improve our local government.
Well, the State County Commissioners Association, as I recall, gave $25,000 to the North Side.
Right.
Will they be involved in what you're doing or looking, okay, so they're kind of,
No, this is a local initiative.
but depending on what you come up with, they could, if you want to do it in other counties, they could be involved.
Right.
Absolutely, they could.
Sure.
Because the other counties, no one else was on board with this. Vandenberg tried this before. A couple of them have already done it internally without changing legislation. But the huge majority of the commissioners did not want this. We're just trying to improve things. Maybe they'll like it too.
And besides the vote, is there a chance that the public will also have their own input on what they would like to see change?
It's certainly our hope, and that's why we've chosen the
Yeah.
individuals that we have to vet some of these ideas. They are well-connected in the community, and we will certainly encourage public participation in the process.
We just wanted to start with those that we know that were actively involved. I'm sure that there will be others that will want to come forward at some point. And, we're baby step walking through this. Once the first meeting and subject matter is determined and delineated, then, we go from there. So again, this is meant to be a free-form, open discussion, not with a set agenda per se of what we or anyone else has as an outcome, but to truly embrace what can structurally enhance the executive branch of Allen County government.
And of course, we will be providing you updates on the committee as it progresses with its work. Well, public access television is just one means by which we can get information about Allen County government to you. And within a couple of years, there'll be yet another means by which we can share information with you. Our friends at Access Fort Wayne and the Allen County Public Library have an exciting new project in the works. It's a non-commercial, listener-sponsored community radio station, and our cameras were on hand for the big announcement.
One of the reasons that we are here is because we are very, very excited to announce the fact that we have received a construction permit for a low-power FM radio station. And this is very exciting news because this is probably one of the last times that the Federal Communications Commission will release any radio frequencies. It's a possibility it may change, but highly unlikely as the public airwaves are filling at this point. So it was critical at this moment for us to do the work to make these applications. I'm just going to talk very briefly about LPFM and kind of what we want to do here at the library, and then I'm going to turn it over to Bob. Just to give again, we started working on LPFM actually in the late 90s. Around 1999 was when Chairman Kennard with the FCC first put forward the rules for LPFM and opened them up, there were over 6,000 applications at that time that went before the FCC, and the Allen County Public Library was one of them. Unfortunately, about 8 months later, the National Federation of National Federation of Broadcasters put forward, got a bill sponsored in Congress called the Radio Preservation Act of 2000, and that, because they were afraid at that time, they said that the frequencies were going to interfere with their commercial broadcast. We all knew that was a red herring at the time, but yet it knocked out over 3/4 of those people that had applied for these non-commercial licenses. It took several reports from the FCC, along with a great deal of work by folks from Prometheus Radio Project, Common Frequency, and a bit with the Alliance for Community Media, who I was a national board member of for a fair number of years. But the FCC then opened up the frequencies again. Now, they hadn't come forward with the process, and as of 2012, they just kind of said that they were going to do it. We, down here at the Allen County Public Library, had been having meetings for over 3 years with community groups, a lot of focus groups to try and get some information in terms of what did they want. It was not a matter of what we thought the community needed. It was going to them to find out from the Hispanic Latino community, from the Burmese, from the growing Arabic community, what did you want in a community radio station? What did you want to hear? How did you want to participate? So when the opportunity came up in September of 2013, there was a 30-day window for about 10, 12 states, I believe, to apply for these licenses. We put them forward. At that time, what happened was they gathered the information, and then you were either in one of two groups. You were either a singleton, which meant that nobody else had applied for that frequency, and you would then be granted, if your permit was correct, you'd be granted that license. Or you ended up in what was called an MX pile, or mutually exclusive, which meant you had several people applying for it. In our case, there were 3 organizations that had applied for this, Associated Churches of Allen County and Fort Wayne, Harvest Christian Fellowship out of Leo, and the Allen County Public Library. Now, to give you an idea, out on the West Coast and in a lot of other places, things became very ugly when people tried to work that out, because the FCC gave you a couple of options. You could either work out an agreement between yourselves, you could timeshare, or at the end of that 90-day window, when you got put into that, you would end up, they would tell you who was going to operate what and when. I almost, pardon me for saying this, but I think when it comes down to, traditional Midwest values, the nice part is the fact that the 3 of us could get together, we could talk, we could work out our agreements so that everybody came away successful, because that's what we wanted. The thing was we wanted to bring 3 new non-commercial FM radio stations to this area. We thought it was very important, both for local news, local information, entertainment. Obviously with the library, we'll be bringing a lot of the library programming on. So that's why we all worked on this. Just to give you a little bit of an idea also of why LPFM is important, there is 2 examples I'll just quickly do, and then I'll let Bob take over here for a moment. Back in 2002, the 9/11 operators serving Ward County in North Dakota began receiving panicked phone calls from residents in Minot, which was the state's 4th largest city. What neither the dispatch or the local residents knew at that point was that a railway train that was transporting androgenous ammonia for fertilizer had just derailed nearby. It exploded and dumped almost 250,000 gallons of the compound near the city's residential neighborhoods. With the electricity down, residents who smelled the fumes frantically tuned their battery-operated radios to KCJB AM 910, the designated local emergency broadcast station for news, but to no avail. Instead, all 6 of the name brand stations, Z94, 97 Kicks, Mix 99.9, the Fox Classic Rock, 91 Country, and Car Oldies Radio, continued to play the standard menu of canned music served up by smooth-talking DJs, trading in light banter and off-color jokes while the giant toxic cloud floated around town. All of these licenses were owned by Clear Channel Communications, which upon purchasing them in 2000, 2 years earlier, had replaced locally produced news, music, and talk programs with prepackaged content engineered in remote studios and transmitted to North Dakota through digital voice tracking. There was no one at the helm. That will not be the case in Allen County, in our stations. And the second example was in terms of Hurricane Katrina. Just to give you a bit of an idea how bad it was, of the 42 stations that lined the Gulf Coast, only 4 stayed operational live during the storm and in its aftermath. 2 of those stations were low-power FM. The way they were able to do that, full-power stations had a much more difficult time because it required a lot more electricity. For the LP-FM stations, they were able to get an Airstream trailer and 10,000 radios donated by Sony, pass them around, and with a couple of gallons of diesel fuel, they were able to get up on the air and let people know where there was fresh water and how to get in contact with relatives and so forth. After that, I've given there's a packet. If you haven't gotten one, there's one up there in the front. It includes the mission statement. We don't have a logo yet. We do have call letters. The one thing we wanted to find was a word, because a word would be something easy for somebody to remember, so I did a Google search. Because every radio station west of the Mississippi starts with a K, everything east starts with a W. So I had to come up with 170 different 4-letter words that start with W, and and then search the FCC website individually, and came up with about 9 of them. We ended up choosing WELT, which we encourage local talent. So our mission is in there, the mission statement. There's about information about how people can help, because we certainly, are going to need all the assistance in the community to become involved. A little bit about some of the programming we're looking at here at WELT, because again, there's a lot of library programming that we've talked about. Certainly there's going to be, the city's going to have programming that's going to be on. We have council members that do a live call-in show right now. They're only on cable television. That needs to be expanded. I mean, when it comes to local government, you really want to get the message out to as many people as possible. And certainly you governmental officials know, trying to get something on the local news media, sometimes you're looking at a 30-second soundbite, and you really need to spend about a half hour or better explaining what's going on and how people can participate.
And you can find out more about this news station, the call letters WELTLP, on its Facebook group page. Make sure and check that out. That's going to do it for this edition of County Line. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Green, Public Information Officer in the Allen County Commissioner's Office, and we'll see you again next time on County Line.